In 1972, somewhere on a rainy afternoon in Newcastle, Wings were midway through their rugged, bare bones university tour, those early, humble days when Paul McCartney was rebuilding his musical identity from scratch. The band travelled in a rattling tour bus, guitars stacked in corners, half empty teacups sliding across tables, and baby Stella McCartney giggling as Linda tried to keep her balanced on her lap. There was no glamour, only music, family, and miles of grey British highways. That morning, drummer Denny Sewell recalled a British journalist had been invited aboard the bus an attempt at goodwill. Wings wanted people to see the human side of the group. Paul McCartney, no longer the Beatle untouchable, but a father, a husband, a man starting again. The journalist was given full access, open conversations, backstage views, the soft chaos of the young family traveling together. Paul even joked with him, handing him a warm cup of instant coffee and saying, "Welcome to the most glamorous store in show business." The reporter nodded, scribbling notes. But something about his cold, polite smile unsettled Sewell. As the bus rolled toward the venue, rain streaking the windows, the journalist thanked them, shook hands, and stepped off. Moments later, the crew realized he wasn't walking toward the arena doors, but toward a taxi waiting at the curb. He hadn't stayed for soundcheck, he didn't watch rehearsal, and most importantly, he didn't attend the concert. "Maybe he's coming back later," Paul muttered, half hopeful. He didn't. The next morning, as Wings prepared for another show, Linda entered the breakfast room holding a newspaper like it was contaminated. "You need to see this," she said, dropping it onto the table. There it was a scathing review. The journalist called the performance uninspired, criticized the setlist, even claimed Paul looked lost under the weight of his own legacy. But the worst part wasn't the insults, it was the clear fact that every detail was a lie. He hadn't seen a single note played, yet he wrote as if he'd been standing at the front row. Paul stared at the article for a long moment, jaw working, the hurt hiding behind frustration. "He didn't even show up," he whispered. "He made it all up." Linda's face hardened. That protective fire she carried, especially when it came to Paul or their children, lit instantly. Sewell remembered her saying, "If he wants something unforgettable to write about, we'll give him something real." Later that afternoon, as baby Stella lay on the hotel bed kicking her tiny feet and giggling, inspiration arrived in the most unexpected form. As the story goes and as Denny told it, Paul and Linda exchanged a mischievous look after tending to their daughter. Paul picked up a hotel soap dish. Linda handed him a neatly folded paper wrapper. And together, laughing like two kids who finally found a way to get even, they placed the tiny piece of baby Stella's poop into the dish. "Special delivery," Paul said in his best announcer voice. Linda wrapped it, sealed it, addressed it to the critic's newspaper office, and added a note that simply read, "Since you prefer creating things you haven't seen, here's something genuinely original for you." Days later, the package was reportedly received at the newspaper, causing confusion, disgust, and a red-faced silence in the newsroom. The critic never responded, but more importantly, he never attempted to cover Wings again. For Paul and Linda, it wasn't about cruelty, it was poetic justice. A harmless, ridiculous gesture meant to call out dishonesty in the most unforgettable way. And according to Sewell, the band laughed about it for years afterward. "It wasn't the most mature thing we ever did," Paul once said with a grin, "but it was the most satisfying." And so, in the long, strange archive of rock and roll stories, one particular review stands out less for what it said and more for what the critic received in the mail afterward. A tiny package, wrapped neatly, delivered with love from the McCartneys.